Hello and good day to you. I am Dr. Yas Anderson of Yes to Yas Consulting and Yes to Yas, Global DR. Today I'll be presenting to you why budgeting matters, presented by again myself, Dr. Yas Anderson. Building wealth starts with a budget, okay? We're all here, we're on this journey together because we have the common goal to create wealth, right? Well, let me tell you, the foundation to building wealth is going to start with your budget, okay? How can you build wealth and not have a budget? A budget simply is something that's telling and showing you where your money is going. Okay. So that's very important to have when building wealth. It always going to start with your budget. And again, it's simply a plan, a plan that you have created, for your money, telling it where to go instead of always wondering, at the end of your pay, where did your money go? A budget is going to help you with overspending. You want to avoid overspending. Even small amounts can accrue and equal to larger amounts over time. So you don't want to be overspending frivolously, okay? A budget is going to help you to reduce the stress of not knowing where your money is going, okay? And so many other stresses that you have in your life, they begin with your budget. And it's a system that's going to help you to begin to start creating that financial freedom that we desire so that we can all acquire wealth. The key principle, though, is going to be, if I can't tell you anything else, the key principle to budgeting is always going to be to live below your means. Okay. So, if your pay is 700, your rent cannot be 400. Okay. You have to be able to have room for saving and investing. So if you're using all of your income for your lifestyle, or for your life necessities, and you're not saving and investing, well, quite frankly, you are not going to be able to build wealth that way. Okay. So, a simple system for every paycheck, a very, very simple system for every paycheck that you get is to always take 10% and give to whatever charitable, organization that you choose, whether it's community support, tithes, or anything like that. You also want to take 10% to save and put away to start building an emergency fund. Emergency funds are very critical, okay? You want to start saving that 10% also towards your retirement or any big goals that you may have, such as purchasing a home or putting someone through college. So remember, the first two 10%, 10 is going to be for you to give back. Another 10% is going to be for your emergency fund that you're building, okay? As well as your savings and retirement. And then the other 80% that's left of your income, that is what you should be using for housing, food, transportation, and lifestyle expenses, okay? Why this works is simple, okay? Because again, you're using a system, a strategy, and a budget telling your money where to go, okay? This is going to prioritize, your saving before your spending, and it's going to help you build discipline and consistency. So some of you may say, well, I don't need a budget. I know my rent is this, my insurance is this, my car note is this. But listen, let me tell you, that's great that you know it and you have it in your mind, but you want to still follow a budget so that it will again give you the discipline and you have that consistency. Because once you start at the beginning, at the foundation with that discipline and consistency, as you grow and as your financial well-being and stuff grows, you will carry those same consistencies and disciplines over once you start generating and creating additional monies or income. So, how to put your budget in action? There's so many tools out here available, apps and things like that. There are tons of them that you can look up and use, whichever one you find most user friendly or that you like for yourself. That's how you're going to begin to start putting it into action. Some tools and tips are a zero based budgeting tool. So every dollar has a purpose. We don't want to have just, monies out there and they don't have a purpose. All of your monies must have a purpose. They must. So that's how you stay from money being misused or lost or not even knowing where the money went. So make sure in your budget that every dollar has a purpose, okay? Now, we also have this alternative rule other than the 10-10-80 I just presented. It's the 50-30-20. And with this alternative rule, 50% goes to your needs. Okay. Again, this goes back to living below your means. This is just temporary. Okay. For me, when I was purchasing my home, I had a beautiful luxury 2 bedroom, 2 bath apartment. It was, immaculate, but it was very expensive. So when it was time for me to start purchasing my home and preparing for my home, I had to reevaluate my budget and go below my means. And I actually downgraded to a 1 bedroom. Okay. Me and my family were in a 1 bedroom apartment for some time to be able to get things in order to purchase our home. So again, this is just temporary for you to use less of your money and to live below your means. Okay. So 50% will go to your needs, 30% to your wants. Okay. That's like your extracurricular activities. For my ladies, your maintenance and things like that. And then 20% of your income will go towards savings and debt repayment. That is very important that you have a portion of your income available to repay your debts, because if you don't, it starts to affect your credit. So do you see how all of this ties together? Because once it starts to affect your credit negatively, it impacts you negatively. You're going to pay more for things. You're going to have higher interest because you have lower credit. So you're paying 2-3 times the value of your home or your car. So you must have 20% left over to save and to repay your debts. Use those apps that we talked about. Like I said, we have apps like Mint, Credit Karma, the Mint Intuit app. All of those apps are going to certainly show you in each and every dollar that you made and where it went. Okay. Sometimes those apps, can be very upsetting because you look at it and you see, wow, I've spent, 10% of my income on just going out to eat this month. So again, use those apps to stay on track. Those are there to help you to stay on track and to help you automate savings and bill payments so that you are consistent. Write that down. Consistent. The main thing you want to be with this to build wealth is to be consistent. That is what's going to take you there. Okay. Here is a sample monthly budget from a current take home pay of someone. Okay. So let's say your sample monthly budget is or excuse me, your simply monthly take home pay is $3,000, right? You want to give off the top your $300. You want to go ahead and give $300 away to whatever charitable or community organization you so choose. Go ahead and take another 300, that's another 10%, and save it. Put it to the side, all right? It doesn't exist. You have 2,400 now to live on for the month. That means that your housing should be around $1,000. Your food per month should be around 400. Transportation 350. Utilities, and then other is 450. Now that other can be for fuel in your car. You need gas, or it can be added back into some of those other categories like your transportation, an example, like I said, your fuel, your gas for your car, or even automobile insurance. Okay. So a budget is going to help you create the clarity that you need. It's going to give you the peace of mind, okay, and room to grow wealth intentionally. So don't be afraid of making a budget. Don't be afraid to write down your income and expenses. For some time, I was afraid to even have a budget because I know if I created a budget, I will be faced with, the truth, what exactly it is that I'm doing with my money and what I should not be doing with my money. Okay. So let's get into the budgeting worksheet. You're saying, okay, Dr. Yaz, you say I need a budget. I need a budget. Let me give you an example of what the 10-10-80 rule budgeting worksheet would look like. And I'll also make sure that I include this downloadable printout so you can have it, or you can make your own inside of your Google Docs or something like that. But this first step one, you want to write your monthly take home pay down at the top after taxes, what you bring home each and every month. And then in step two, you're simply going to just apply the 10-10-80 rule. Again, given that 10%, whether it's to your church or local community organization of your choice, you're going to put that second 10% away for your savings. And we'll talk about where to put that 10% later, because if you put that 10%, just in your savings account, that's attached to your checking account, is very readily and easily available to you. And that could be a problem with saving if that money is right at your fingertips. So we'll talk about in a later class on some areas and some type of accounts where you can put those funds so they're not as easily accessible. It will take you like 24 hours or so to get it. And by that time, you might think twice about spending the unnecessary money. Okay. And then finally, that 80% is going to go to your living expenses. Okay. Your living expenses. Again, your housing, your food, your transportation, utilities, entertainment, etc. If you're building wealth, though, I don't really see entertainment as a necessity during these early stages of your foundation when you are building wealth. So, just keep that in mind when you are following this path. So again, break it down. You want to break down the 10-10-80 rule too. Like everything that you buy, look at your bank statement and just look at it. You want to break it down into housing, food, transportation, utilities, debt repayment, and other. Okay. And then step three is going to be to make an action plan. You have to have an action plan. One expense can reduce this month? What expense can I reduce this month? All right. What area will increase my giving? If you want to increase your giving, right? My financial goal for the next 90 days, it might be to save, you know, 3 months of your salary. You want to start building that emergency fund. I can't express to you how important it is to have an emergency fund. At least a minimum of 1 to 3 months starting out of your monthly income or your monthly expenses. And then as you grow, you want to increase that savings and you want to have at least 6 months because you don't know what can happen, loss of employment, healthcare issues, family issues. You might have to take a flight, go somewhere, funeral comes up, any, unforeseen circumstance can come up. So that importance of having, you know, that that money set aside, that emergency fund to equal to, like I said, a minimum of 1 to 3 and up to 6 months of your actual monthly expenses. Okay. So here again is the budgeting worksheet. This will be available and downloadable for you to access to fill out your own. I want you to personalize this and make it your own. Put your income in at the top, what you give, which I hope is 10%, what you save, which I hope is 10%, and then, of course, those living expenses, the other 80%. Okay. So, with that being said, guys, that is going to conclude budgeting. That is going to conclude budgeting. Now I'm going to open the floor for any questions. Okay. If you have any questions, I'm here to give you the answers. But this is pretty simple, guys, on the budgeting. You want to, like I said, follow the 10-10-80 rule. You want to give 10. Those of you who do not give the 10%, that's on you. Okay. That's your choice. That 10% then needs to go back into saving or eliminating some debt. So, any questions? Any questions? If we have no questions right now, I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this course today on why budgeting matters. And make sure you use a downloadable document that is available to you to start beginning and building your foundation with a budget. You must know where your money is going. How can you possibly build wealth if you don't even know where your money's going? Some of us, or most of us, maybe even all of us, we know where our money is going. We just don't want to sometimes face that reality. So this budget is going to force you to make those necessary changes. All right. So if that's all for today, I want to thank you all for attending today's class on why budgeting matters. Again, thank you. I am Dr. Yas Anderson. You can follow me on all socials at Yas Anderson or Yes to Yas Global. Again, thank you and God bless.